Human sacrifice has always been a characteristic of the oligarchical principle, as far back as ancient Rome. So why should it come as any surprise that the oligarchy of today has adopted human sacrifice as their chosen policy of practice, whether it be politically, as we watch one head after another roll throughout Europe of anybody who makes even the slightest hint of resistance to the Euro bailout policy, or literally, as we visualize our President Barack Obama sitting enraptured courtside at the Carrier Classic college basketball game held on the very same aircraft carrier which buried Osama bin Laden at sea. It's as if Nero wished to celebrate the death of a man who he had ordered killed by hosting a nationally televised circus on the deck of his floating Colosseum. It is becoming fatally clear to those in the United States who wished to deny what LaRouche had warned them about going all the way back to 2009, that Obama is a modern-day Emperor Nero. His psychology matches that of Adolf Hitler, and that is precisely why he was handpicked by the British to fill the office of the U.S. presidency in exactly the same way that they handpicked and promoted the career of Adolf Hitler in Germany. Not only did Obama wish to get away and indulge in his foremost pleasure by hosting a basketball game over the ghost of bin Laden's corpse, but this Nero-like spectacle should bring back more chilling memories of Obama forcing his entire upper cabinet to watch via live satellite video feed from the helmet camera of a Navy SEAL the execution of bin Laden in May of this year. Obama, a homicidal psychopath who derives almost sexual pleasure from watching bin Laden die via real-time satellite video, while forcing his government advisors to watch this bloody spectacle right along with him, as if it were a snuff film. This is Emperor Nero, seated in the gallery at the Colosseum, feeling powerful as he gives the thumbs up or thumbs down. This is the psychology of a weak but dangerous madman who derives vicarious gratification from observing this act of homicide. It makes you wonder, is this really any different than an Adolf Hitler, who had the executions of those who plotted the July 20th coup against him recorded on film, so that he could have the pleasure of watching them die later in the company of his general staff? The films of these executions, all 4,980 of them, were then released to the public in the form of a 30-minute newsreel, which Army cadets and others in the German public were forced to watch as part of their training programs in school. Ironically, the occasion that Obama chose to stage his Nero-like spectacle on the USS Carl Vinson was November 11th, Armistice Day, the day on which we commemorate the conclusion of the First World War. But with Hitler in the presidency and cowards in the U.S. Congress, at the very moment that our nation was marking the end of that great war, we find ourselves days, if not hours, from the beginning of another, again global in scale, but far, far greater war. This time, a thermonuclear World War III. Though the First World War resulted in the deaths of tens of millions, the bloodiest war in history at that time, and the Second World War killed almost twice as many as the first, a thermonuclear Third World War, which Obama has brought us to the threshold of now, will cause death on a scale which has never been conceived in history, with casualties mounting into the several billions of people dead. The British Empire knew that Obama had a homicidal mind. His psychology was clear for anyone to see. It was for that reason and that reason only that he was placed in the office of the presidency, because they knew that his bloodlust was such that he would carry the world to the edge of World War III. With Obama in office, the empire has its finger on the United States nuclear arsenal, and they are willing to pull that trigger because only in that way could they achieve their ultimate global agenda, the reduction of the human population from 7 billion to less than 1.
The goal of the British is a planning process of less than 1 billion people surviving on a planet which now has 7 billion people. From 7 to 1. That is openly stated repeatedly by the British monarchy and other similar leading circles. It's being said more and more by people in Europe under British impression. So we're now in the transatlantic region. The economy of the world is collapsing. Right now, the money you're talking about in terms of money out there is worthless. So that's where we are. We have to wake up. We have to realize that our president is, in fact, one of our worst enemies, the worst enemies of the United States and of the human species. But he's only a puppet of the British Empire, of the British Queen.
As LaRouche said, their time is running out. The political casualties among heads of state in Europe is only symptomatic of the proximity of a total explosion in the transatlantic system. There is no way that the European imperial system, which is several thousands of years old, could sit idly by, watching itself die, while the Asia-Pacific nations of the planet surge past it towards relative progress and survival. A nuclear holocaust is now their live option, and all the indications are there. Forward placement of troops are already being deployed to Australia's north coast, right at China's front door. NATO planes were spotted patrolling the airspace on the Russian border with Lithuania. The British press has announced that an Israeli strike on Iran can be expected within 1 month, and the Arab League has now suspended the membership of Syria while calling for outside military intervention. These flashpoints are nothing more than triggers, ignition switches, in a new Balkans cockpit for war which was designed from the beginning with this very purpose in mind, and are intended to do nothing else than set off a direct nuclear confrontation between the United States and its allies versus Russia, China, and the other nations of the Asia-Pacific world. A war of global genocide from which nobody will be spared. Do not wait and see whether or not LaRouche is right. He was right about Obama, and he is right about World War III.